Warning: CP is not a professional chef but can still help you find and make your next amazing meal. So let's not waste any more time and 走起吧. Known as the 焗豬扒意粉 in Cantonese, it is a classic Hong Kong cafe-style dish you can find in the city and among many Hong Kong-themed cafes around the world. Roughly translated as the baked pork chop spaghetti, it is a unique combination of ketchup, spaghetti, cheese, and other ingredients you probably already have at home. In fact, it is one of the more unusually delicious meals that captures the heart of those unfamiliar with Hong Kong-style cafe food. Today, I will help you make this amazing meal and bring a little taste of Hong Kong into your own home. So ladies and gentlemen, let's start cooking, cause this dish gonna be good. To keep things simple, I will break down the cooking into 4 major steps. This includes preparing and marinating the pork, cooking the pasta, making the pasta sauce, and baking everything in the oven. Assuming that you'll be making this meal for 2 people, you will need about 2 slices of pork. As for the type of pork, you can pretty much use any kind you want, but I personally recommend using boneless chops or cutlets, as it will make the cooking and marinating process a lot easier. In my opinion, the portion of the slices doesn't really matter too much, as it depends more on your personal preference. But from my experience, I find the thinner the slices, the better. Essentially, the first step is to defrost the pork. What I usually do is place the pork into a large bowl and fill it with cool water. Once the pork is completely submerged in the pot, I will add a small teaspoon of salt along with a slice of lemon. The purpose of this step is to drain out some of the natural raw flavors of the pork. On top of that, we are moisturizing the pork to make it more juicy and tender when cooking. I usually let the pork sit in the water for about 10 to 20 minutes. A good way to see if the pork is ready is by giving it a good poke with a fork and see if it goes through. After the pork is ready, I would dry it off and pat down and squeeze out some of the excess water soaked inside. Another technique I like to use is to make small cuts on the surface of the pork. Not only does this loosen the meat, but also better opens up the surface to help the ingredients be better absorbed during the marination process. To marinate the pork, you'll need to add the following ingredients: half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of sugar, half a teaspoon of white pepper or chicken powder if you have any. Once this is all added, you will need to mix in about 5 ml of egg yolk. Massage well and let the ingredients marinate on the pork for about 10 minutes. This concludes the first step of marinating for your pork. While we're waiting for the pork to marinate, we can move on to prepare the spaghetti. In terms of the portion, I don't usually go by a set amount, but instead try to have enough so it fills the bottom of my oven dish. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. When cooking your pasta, make sure you occasionally stir to prevent it from sticking to your pot. I usually cook my pasta for around 8 to 10 minutes. One key thing to remember is to not overcook your pasta here, as it can't be too mushy, since we will need to put it in the oven for our final step. So if anything, I would try to aim to have my spaghetti 90% cooked. Once you feel like it's ready, you can take it out and run it through some cold water to prevent it from sticking. Once that's done, we can leave the pasta aside and go back to the second step of marinating the pork. Now it's time for phase 2 of marinating. This time around, you will need to add about 15 ml of egg yolk and about 1 teaspoon of cornstarch onto the pork chop. Once again, mix well and set it aside to let your pork marinate. Now we can move on to prepare the sauce. This is essentially one of the more important steps, as the sauce could literally make or break your entire meal. For the sauce, you will need the following ingredients. To be totally honest, this is not the most simple sauce to make in the world. so if you need to, make sure you pause the video to get all your ingredients ready. Once you have all the ingredients in hand, you can start cutting them up. I recommend using an electric cutter to chop up the shallots and garlic into smaller pieces, so it makes it easier to mix into the sauce later. Now the ingredients for the sauce is prepared, we can start mixing everything together to start cooking the sauce. As a bonus step, I like to add a few drops of lemon juice to the sauce just to give it a little bit extra flavor. Once the sauce is done, we can move on to start cooking the pork. The key here is to make sure that each side of the pork turns golden brown or golden yellow. As you can see here, my pork slices are a little bit thick, so if I were to do it again, I would have probably made my slices a little bit thinner. Once that is done, we can save the oil in the wok and start frying the pasta. I like to call this my secret extra step. Essentially, all I'm doing is adding butter into the wok to fry the pasta one more time. Overall, this gives the spaghetti a much more smoother and silkier texture. Yum yum. Once that's done, we can start putting everything into the oven tray. To save time, make sure you preheat the oven before this step. We will first place the pasta into the tray, then the pork, and finally the sauce. For my portion, I have my oven set on baked at around 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and I would let it bake for about 15 to 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, you can see to check if your pasta is ready. If so, you can add the cheese on top. And put your oven setting on broil at a low temperature and let it do its work for about 6 to 7 minutes. A very important step to remember here is to not put the cheese on too early or to broil it for too long. Otherwise, it will overmelt the cheese and make things very messy. And there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, you now have a little taste of Hong Kong in the comfort of your own home. If you enjoyed this video and have any comments, make sure you let me know below. And if you want to see more of my crappy cooking, make sure that you subscribe right now, and I'll love you forever. I promise. For 15 years of good luck, hit that like button now and activate your good fortunes. Do it now.